Stormwater Committee meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. So the first item is the minutes from the August and October meetings. And I think we had a couple of minor typos. Starting with the August meeting, I believe that Regina was present and Charles was absent. Is that correct? Those two should be switched. And item 3, second sentence should insert the word minutes after meeting. And on the second page, under recommendations, second line, to look at a potential, strike the N off of from the T intersection, not teen. Anyone else have anything else on the August minutes? And on the October, the only thing I have is under public comment, I think it's supposed to be MS4.
Yes.
Are there any other, there was nothing in the content that I had that needed to be changed. Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3-0. Approve the minutes from August and October.
With modifications.
With the modifications as noted. Moving on to public comment. We'll revisit that if we should need to later on. Moving right along. T&M proposal for Banbury Francis Windsor 10-year event design, which is going to be brought up before the board this coming Monday. Anyone like to make any comment on the proposal?
I think their numbers were a little more realistic this time, so I'm glad that you worked, Steve, with T&M just to change the design from the 25-year, just so if anyone's watching, it was a 25-year storm design. We're asking for a 10-year storm design, and we're going to go back to the board to hopefully get approval Monday night. The 10-year was what we initially proposed, but it was also what a good number of the residents also wanted to see, that they were willing to work with us in the township to go from that 25 to a 10-year storm, and they seemed pleased with going in that direction. So now this is an opportunity for T&M to put forth the design that we can go back to the residents and say, here's where we're at, and make sure that we're all working together.
One of the big changes in price was the SWIM Act requested that we go from 3 design options to 1. So that dropped the price considerably. And so Monday night, it's not an agenda item, but you will be there to ask to request this. And if the board says yes, then the resolution's there to go forward.
I looked a couple days ago. I didn't see the agenda. Are we towards the front? Or are we towards the back? Just to kind of gauge.
Engineering is always at the end.
So come later.
Yes.
Okay.
So I think both Heather and I will be there on Monday when it's brought before the board. Any other comment? And moving along to the...
Well, can I just say one thing real quick? And I don't know if we want to put it at the end. There is, before our meeting's done tonight, I just wanted to talk about an email that was sent in regards to the term limits for Stormwater Committee. Because I think that's something that, unless the board moves on it sooner than later, we're just not going to have the personnel to do it. So I don't care where we put it on the agenda. I just, after seeing that email, I just want to make sure that, we coordinate with the staff and board on how to best go forward.
That's a change in the ordinance, in the code of the township. So you could bring that up to the board. So, you know, it's not a staff decision, that's a board decision, that's an ordinance amendment, and has far-reaching effects. So my recommendation would be, when you request Banbury, that you could talk about that if you wish.
Talk about that, and then hopes that in one of the December meetings that the board would come back that with some sort of amended resolution that in the absence of.
The board would direct the solicitor, if it so pleases the board, they would direct the solicitor to draw up the proper amendment.
Okay. Right, it's not like people are beating down the door to get on the Stormwater Committee. And it would be a shame because of merely a term limit that we have people who want to be on the Stormwater Committee who, because of that, seems like we could easily amend it to keep things going.
Yeah, I don't know how easily, I mean, all boards are limited to 2 terms. Planning Commission, that's all boards, so, all voluntary boards. So I don't know how far-reaching or not that may be. I would suggest that would be the place to discuss it, or just put it out there and then they can move how they wish.
Regarding that, I mean, does anyone have any leads on anyone there? No? I've been trying to put the word out there, so we'll see. So moving on to the budget. And I'm looking at an email that Steve, you sent out on October 22nd that had budget items in it. I guess one thing I wanted to ask, and it looks like the monies are all sort of accounted for there and spent there in upcoming years. What about BFW and, you know, if that,
I'm sorry, what?
What about Banbury Francis? If that gets designed and the board wants to move forward with that?
Then that would have to be, we'd have to make that work. So as part of the design, they have to come up with an estimated probable cost of construction. So you'll see on a lot of these, there's TBDs, because it's very hard to price out a project before it's designed. You know, it's like saying, I want a car. Well, what kind of car? I don't know. I don't know how much it's going to cost. So that's why you see in 19, there's to be determined based on the design. So to your question, Paige, once that gets designed, and then it goes back to the board to see if they want to go to bid, so back up. So if it so pleases the board to authorize the design Monday night, that's step 1. We know what that costs. When that design is complete, we go back to the board and request the ability to go out and receive sealed bids. And we give them a magnitude based on the estimated probable cost of construction. If they say, yes, we want to do that, then we have to make, you know, that's when we're going to have to make this work.
Well, let's assume the best, that the board will approve this, and that we can work out the term limits and then start moving forward with, if we can get this project going, with the next one in line.
And Steve, can you comment a little bit on the items listed under?
Yeah, I'll step through that real quickly for you. So the first section is MS4 testing. That's just an annual amount for doing the dry weather testing, get it sent out to the lab. The base and retrofits are all part of the PRP. Again, they're estimates. So right now, Melior has been reaching out to various HOAs and homeowners to see if they can get permission to enter the property. We've been lucky on some, and we have to work a little harder on others. That's what that basically is. Stream bank restoration, also part of the PRP. The manager would like to approach the Army Corps on that, so that's why there's no cash in there. Then I broke it down by like it's MS4, PRP. So the following ones are infrastructure projects. Highview Outfall, Wooten Road Storm Sewer, Arthur Road Storm Sewer. Now, Arthur Road Storm Sewer is going to be before the board Monday night. So it's in there as like a tentative item. Same with Brookside, that's not before them yet. Arbor and Cumberland was already approved. Highview was approved, Wooten was approved. Arbor and Cumberland was approved for design. All these are just design. North Wayne Basin repair and cleaning, that's out there already. That's going to start shortly. The Maplewood outfall is just about complete. Malin Road culvert. So design, I'm going to say, is about 60%. We have the box culvert designed. It's going to be some of the smaller items left, paving, railing, signage. That, again, now, so these things in design, it's not a given that they go to construction, right? We have to go back to the board and request that to go to bid. Earls Lane culvert was done. That was an emergency repair that from the August 13th storm. Flood reduction and stormwater management. So Banbury Francis Windsor is highlighted, and there's a little footnote saying we're going to go to the board. Excuse me. Upstream projects of the North Wayne Basin, that's already underway in design. Midland, we already have a price on that. That was the South Wayne lot, using that as stormwater management facility, as well as flood reduction on Midland. That's a design. North Wayne reduction, flood reduction, Poplar bypass. Again, that's already underway in design. And then we have some, the SEPTA expanded. So I'll tell you what happened there. So as you know, Amtrak gave us approval, but we've been waiting for SEPTA now. So this has been like over 2 years. So I instructed Gannett Fleming to base their design on rate control as of right now. And if and when they ever let us in to do infiltration testing, we can make a minor change to take advantage of that. So whatever benefits we get from rate control, we'll do even better if we can get infiltration. But I need to have the design move forward. It's just been stagnant too long. We have, excuse me, so then August 13th, 2019 severe weather event. So right after that happened, we contracted with Gannett Fleming to do basically a down and dirty look at every culvert we have. To then, it was, the way I term it is a red light, yellow light, green light. Red light meant close the road, get it fixed right now. Yellow meant there's work to be done. And green was, it was basically in good condition except for maintenance. South Devon Avenue culvert, I don't know if you drive South Devon Avenue, so we had to close the one sidewalk. When I looked at the end wall, which had started to collapse, I noticed the sidewalk was bad. So that's an emergency project. That's actually going to kick off on Monday. That's over $350,000. Gulf Creek Gabion, so Gulf Creek, right by Radnor Road, right as it passes under the culvert by the park, by Cowan Park. There was a gabion, row of gabion that the township put in some, I don't know, years ago that have pretty much collapsed at this point. So this price is to use, if you're familiar with Ready Rock retaining walls, I've had really good success with them to replace that and probably extend it a little bit more towards the culvert, like connect the two, because there's an eddy that occurs in there. And, Spring Mill pipe replacement, this is another infrastructure project that came about from when we were inspecting these culverts. The pipes are completely, it's two twin CMP pipes that have just rotted through, and the end walls are damaged, so there's work for that. Roberts Road culvert. So the one Robert Road culvert, I'm sorry, that's a typo. The other one is what counts. So that there's a $96,000 design on that. Construction will be determined. So that was under a regular design process, and the next step was done through an emergency basis because on August 13th, it took even more damage. So you'll see barrels along there. That's going to be a sizable project. We're not replacing the culvert, but There's inlets that have to be added. There's considerable work to the end walls and storm sewer, so that won't be cheap. And then from the first item where it says emergency analysis of culverts, right, we went through, we had that list. So I requested a price en masse to give us plans and specs for, it's basically 20 culverts that need work. End wall replacements, so these are the yellow, if you will. End walls are cracked, undermined, some serious work that needs to be done. So instead of bidding 20 projects, I asked Ganna Fleming to put together, and I don't have that price yet. That's an estimate on my part, so I get the full price. So the idea would be they put together a bid package for 20 culverts, and it gets bid as 20 culverts. However many contractors wish to join together, they can, but it can be sequential work. None of them are in danger of collapse. But we need to get it done. So in that storm, we found end walls that got completely undermined, and you'll see cracking at the joint with the end walls and the culvert. Have a couple end walls that are leaning. There's a lot of scour in a lot of the culverts. South Devon Avenue, that's a masonry end wall. That's the one I noted up there. That end wall, literally the masonry has fallen apart. So we're going to be ripping that wall down, replacing it, repointing the entire rest of the masonry in the culvert and the wing walls. There's 2 runs of corrugated metal pipe that are rotted that protrude through the end walls. That's going to be replaced, end walls repaired. And then the final thing is it will get the new sidewalks that go across.
Steve?
Yes, sir.
Can we go back just for a second and clarify the Roberts Road culvert? The 485 is
Yeah,
for-
that's a typo. I apologize. That needs to come out. That was...
Totally just take it out?
Yes. There's only one Roberts Road culvert.
Okay. So the 485 is
And the construction will be to be determined.
got it.
So then there's the footnotes, the one for Banbury. Swim Act requests to commissioners to award 10-year, 1-hour design pending board approval. The one item, Midland, that includes stormwater management construction at the South Wayne Municipal Lot. The design has gone along pretty well. We're going to do some additional survey now and hope to get that out to bid maybe by January. The North Wayne flood reduction, that's noted as a possible multi-year project with utility relocation and sewer replacement. Impacts several funds, impacts the sanitary sewer fund, impacts the stormwater fund, and possibly even the general fund. Same goes with Midland. So we just had a utility coordination meeting with Midland on Midland Avenue, mainly with PICO. Aqua seems to be pretty clear, but the intent there is to replace the sanitary sewer, replace just the conveyance, the storm sewer. PICO Gas is going to get in there, and that's without even knowing what Melior is going to design. But we wanted to put PICO on notice that this is what's going to be occurring, so we're probably going to get PICO in there first. We'll dictate to them where they are, so we have room to do what we need to do, and then from there, Melior will still have room to do storm sewer. It's pretty much a given that the storm sewers in most of these areas are undersized, and the capture rate of those very old, small inlets is not good. So we know that, that's something that has to be done. So we're thinking possibly in 19, gas work might start, and then as that design progresses on the stormwater, again, this all has to go back before the Board of Commissioners, and it would come back before you for recommendations once it goes along. So that's a little ways out. Probably the biggest new project that will be coming soon from these big studies is the South Wayne lot where the War Memorial is to be used for stormwater management.
I have a question for you, because I know there's a lot of projects for the PRP. Have we gotten anything back, we being like Radnor, from DEP? Because I know letters went out to most of the municipalities, and just curious as to some of the comments that...
We got billed. I have not seen a letter. As a matter of fact, September, we submitted our updated plant, right? So I've seen nothing in regards to our PRP.
Okay, because some of the municipalities that we've submitted on where I work, we've been getting letters back, so I was just curious to
Has
see.
it been recent?
Yeah, as in August and September,
Hopefully, we'll be in the November run.
after the holidays. I was just curious, just to see what the feedback
No,
was.
I'm
and-
dying to see it myself.
Okay.
Because that's, if you remember, we realized that it's going to be very tough to get all this work done in 5 years, and we wanted to sit down with DEP and talk with them about noting that we're spending millions, we're doing all this work, but not feasible to have it all done in that amount of time. And the thought was, let's get their comments back, and then we can sit down and say, hey, but no, I have gotten nothing.
How about, are we still looking at cleaning storm sewers and videotaping, especially with all the rain we had this summer? I'm sure there's a ton of sediment.
We did a lot of that, as you remember, in that project. So I haven't asked for any more money because what we had was a lot of data to go through. And I'm just trying to weigh the dollars that we have, because there's not this huge fund balance that you think when you see the emergency projects and all that are going on. So we had a lot of data from that, and that's enough to work on for a while. And honestly, these infrastructure projects keep coming up constantly, like Wooten Road. A tree upturns, rips up the pipe, and now we see we have 300 feet of deteriorated corrugated metal pipe. Arthur Road, that's a new one if the board approves. Highview Outfall, we'll be talking about easements in the next month with the 2 residents, so I'm hoping that will go to bid next year. So just trying to weigh, I did that in a previous life too, like we did with sanitary sewers. So for now, I think we're okay in that regard. We could move on that again at one point, but honestly, there's so many projects and so many things to do. I'm just trying to concentrate the money where I hope it gives the best bang for the buck in my request to you and the board.
Discussing videoing pipes, I think in one of our meeting minutes here, there was something that Bob had said after I think it was after the August 13th storm, just to someone who had a business along Lancaster, something about videoing some pipes there. Did that ever happen?
It did. So our Public Works Department went out, and what they found was if you're heading eastbound from Bloomingdale, as you're approaching, like there's Domino's Pizza on your right, okay? So there's a series of inlets that run down there, and there's an inlet right before the retail stores after you pass like Domino's. Well, that's a dead-end inlet, so it doesn't go anywhere. So our Public Works guys are fantastic. They went through a bunch of inlets, and they got to that one, and they found that it doesn't go anywhere. So all this water collects and goes down there and stops. Or actually just flows out of the inlet and goes down the street. So we pointed that out. We had PennDOT, then Representative Charlton. We had the ADA, the Assistant District Manager for our part for Delaware County out here. We went on a tour. That's one of the things we showed them. That's one of the things I followed up in an email to them with. The manager has talked to them because Route 30 is scheduled to be paved stem to stern in the township next year. So it's great, but as far as we know, it's just a mill and overlay. So none of the other issues with storm sewer, dead-end inlets, no inlets are not part of it. So we're going to try to reach out to PennDOT and ask if they're, now, and there's no guarantee, to see if they're, going to do some, be willing to do work. I mean, it'd be great to have a nice paved surface, but there's much to be done there. I can run through the, I'm sorry, but I thought I could, while we're kind of on the same thing, I could run through the updates on other stormwater matters because they all kind of tie in. So the Maplewood Avenue outfall extension, that's substantially complete. Right now, there's just some landscaping and restoration to be done. Pipes in, project's done. North Wayne Basin, construction is going to start in the next few weeks. We're in the submittal process. Pretty much one of the big things was we had spec'd the contact hydraulic separator. They came in with some alternates, but none of the alternates met the requirements, we're not married to contact by any means, but they didn't meet the requirements. South Avenue Culvert, that's the emergency repair we spoke of, that's starting Monday. Design was awarded for the Wooten Road storm sewer replacement. That's the one where I told you the tree ripped up. The basin retrofits, the consultants are seeking property access. They're getting some, and when they're able to go in. Roberts Road Culvert, we spoke of that. North Wayne flood reduction, green infrastructure again. So that's in the design phase. They're running the SWIM model, SWMM. They're running that through, trying to calibrate that with the August 13th storm because we have pictures. So well, I said, we can see that the water is 2 feet deep here at this time. So when you run your model, you should get somewhere around that. Now we know these are high-level models and they're not, down to the inch by any means, but we're in that stage. The Worcester Road outfall, that's an emergency project that was done. So T&M is doing that. That's an outfall that goes between two houses. It's causing really serious problems. It's flooding one property and severe erosion. And after the 13th, I unfortunately was not here that week, but the manager put that on an emergency basis. South Wayne lot we discussed. Arthur Road, this will be in front of the board Monday night. If you're familiar with Arthur Road off of County Line Road, it's a small cul-de-sac, but there is I guess through years of not milling when you pave and sinking curbs and all other sort of things, there's a considerable amount of water that lays in the western part of the cul-de-sac. So in the summer, that just sits there. It's a mosquito breeding ground. In the winter, it ice. So if all goes well, if it gets awarded, it seems like a relatively simple project to extend the storm sewer, but as you folks know, you never know until you start to get the survey back. Highview plans are, I'll say 80% complete. The remainder is the easement work and what the folks want to get the easements, because this outfall never had an easement. So it's been there for, I don't know, 30 or 40 years. So by rights, I have to clean this up and get the appropriate permanent and construction temporary easements. And the Earls Lane culvert, that was damaged in the 8/13 severe weather event. We brought in a company on an emergency basis. So we were lucky. We were able to stabilize that with gunite and some grout bags. So it's not a total replacement of the culvert, but we feel that that will buy us years until we can go back. So that was a good way. So that's pretty much where we stand in a nutshell between everything that was noted on the budget and here. That's all I have. Stormwater management.
So we really almost don't have room for like another project after Banbury Francis Way till 2020, 2021 at the earliest?
You have, Malin Road, the Malin Road culvert's in bad shape, and that really needs to be replaced. That's a $1 million plus project to get done. So really, it's going to have to see once we get the designs done and we have the estimated probable cost of construction. I will tell you the bidding climate has been really favorable to the bidders, not to the local governments. So things are coming in high. We really need to see what these numbers look like, and then you can drop back and again reprioritize based on cost benefit, because we don't even have the numbers for Midland, for South Wayne, for North Wayne, and we know that they are big numbers. So yeah, how this money plays out, it might take a lot of work to do that.
In speaking about, talking about modeling the August 13th storm, do they typically use actual data, not just like high water marks? I mean,
No, so they model, and then they check their model based on what they see. So we're not going from the 8/13 storm back. We're taking the rainfall data from that storm, running it through the model, and saying, oh, okay, at this location we're seeing 2.3 feet, and through some pictures they can validate that. But we're not working backwards. We're not saying, oh, there's 2.3 feet. They're taking the rainfall data from that day, which by their accounts, and I would anecdotally agree, it was the most severe event we've seen here in recent history, meaning decades and decades.
I agree. So they're just calibrating the model, okay.
I mean, that was a good recap. Thanks. I appreciate that, Steve. And I mean, unless really till we can see if we move forward with, Banbury Francis Way and then some of the PRP projects, if they can come, we can take a look at it. We're kind of in a holding pattern, to be honest.
Right, so a lot hinges on Monday night.
Yep.
And we ran through this agenda, but Monday night's a big night. One way or the other, right? I mean, it's a big night. If we move forward, or it knows how to get, we know how to go.
If there's nothing else, then, let's see, the next meeting would be Thursday, December 13th. And otherwise,
I do want to say thank you for meeting with Steve. I know you guys met about the budget and, oh, you guys didn't meet? Well, I know there was a lot of coordination that, Paige did, so thank you. I appreciate that.
so, December 13th? That's right, I'll see you Monday. If there's no other matters, then we'll close the November meeting.